Sophie, I just wanted to talk to you in private.
Sure, anytime. Am I in trouble?
For looking absolutely stunning today? Yes, yes, you are.
Oh, thank you, Neil. That's very kind of you.
No, really. I can't take my eyes off you. You're so beautiful.
Thank you, Neil. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss with me?
Actually, yes. I wanted to tell you that I've been very impressed with your work lately. You're such a hard worker and you have a great attitude. I really appreciate that in a woman.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear that.
And I couldn't help but notice how your dress hugs your curves in all the right places. You really know how to dress for success.
Excuse me, Neil. That's really inappropriate.
Oh, come on, Sophie. Don't be so uptight. I'm just giving you a compliment. You should feel flattered that I find you attractive.
I don't feel flattered, Neil. I feel uncomfortable. I'm here to work.
I'm here to work too. Maybe we could work out an arrangement just between us, huh?
My name is Sophie, and I was a fresh graduate when I got into the biggest work drama of my life. I was filled with hope, confidence, and desire to prove myself. I was so excited about my new job as a specialist at a consulting agency. It wasn't a big agency, but it was the first step to bring me closer to my dream. I had always wanted to work in a consulting agency and help people solve their problems. And so I was happier than ever that I had a chance to start building my career so early into adulthood. On my first day, I was nervous, but at the same time, really excited. I wanted to make a good impression and prove to my colleagues that I was the right person for the job. The office was small, but it was cozy and welcoming. My colleagues were friendly. They made me feel at ease and helped me settle in. What's more, my boss Neil was really nice and helpful. He was patient and understanding, and he took the time to explain everything to me in detail. Whenever I had a question or needed help, he was always there for me. He never made me feel like I was bothering him, and he always had a smile on his face. I was really hopeful that he could give me just the right guidance and support for me to advance in this field. Boy, was I wrong, but more on Neil later. In addition to having a great boss, I also hit it up with other coworkers. Among them, a lady in HR named Ruby really stood out as the most beautiful and friendly person. She was almost 10 years older than me, but she had such a friendly demeanor that made me feel comfortable around her. From the first day, she was warm and welcoming, and we quickly became good friends. We shared a lot of common interests, and we often talked about our hobbies and life outside work. However, things soon took a turn for the worse one day. Neil called me into his office to give me some reviews. I was taken aback because usually, if the boss called for you individually, you're most probably in trouble. My mind was racing, trying to figure out what mistake I could have made. To my surprise, the meeting started at ease with a lot of compliments from Jim. But it quickly got so much uglier than I could ever have imagined.
Sophie, I just wanted to talk to you in private.
Sure, anytime. Am I in trouble?
For looking absolutely stunning today? Yes, yes, you are.
Oh, thank you, Neil. That's very kind of you.
No, really. I can't take my eyes off of you. You're so beautiful.
Thank you, Neil. Is there something specific you wanted to discuss with me?
Actually, yes. I wanted to tell you that I've been very impressed with your work lately. You're such a hard worker and you have a great attitude. I really appreciate that in a woman.
Thanks. I'm glad to hear that.
And I couldn't help but notice how your dress hugs your curves in all the right places. You really know how to dress for success.
Excuse me, Neil? That's really inappropriate.
Oh, come on, Sophie. Don't be so uptight. I'm just giving you a compliment. You should feel flattered that I find you attractive.
I don't feel flattered, Neil. I feel uncomfortable. I'm here to work.
I'm here to work too. Maybe we could work out an arrangement just between us, huh?
I was so confused. I couldn't even react even though I was deeply uncomfortable. Then he got closer to me and touched me inappropriately where my waist and hips were. I fought back, scolded him, and stormed out of his office. I was petrified. I was too scared to tell anyone about it except for Ruby. She was my closest friend at work and the only person I trusted enough to confide in. I told her everything that had happened and how I was feeling. She listened patiently and told me that she would take care of it. She advised me to calm myself down and not to worry too much. I felt so grateful for Ruby that day. I started spending more and more time with her. I was literally relying on her for protection. She mentioned to me how she had been wanting to learn more about consulting, so I let her in on a lot of my personal projects. We bonded so much in such a short time. After confiding in Ruby about Niels's advances, I noticed that he stopped making any further moves. However, despite his apparent change of behavior, I could still sense that he was not going to let it go easily. There were times when I would catch him staring at me from across the room, sending shivers down my spine. I felt like I was constantly on edge, wondering when he would make another move. One day, I was supposed to present my idea to a group of investors. I had been working on it for weeks, pouring all of my energy and creativity into it. I could feel Neil's eyes on me, and I felt like I was about to break down. Just when I thought I was going to push through, Ruby stepped in. She took the stage and talked about my idea as if it was hers. She spoke with confidence and charisma, captivating the audience with her words. I was in awe as I watched her take charge, commanding the attention of everyone in the room. Worst of all, she said it was all her idea. I felt betrayed, but I couldn't do anything about it. I then realized how much she was using me, taking advantage of my vulnerabilities. I blamed myself for being too naive. How could I trust her so much? She didn't even report what Neil had done to me to HR, and she worked in HR. It was a ridiculous situation, but I only had myself to blame. It was truly devastating. After that, Neil once again called me into his office. As soon as I walked in, he had a cold and stern expression on his face. He started by saying that my work was not up to the mark and that I had not come up with anything useful in the past few months. I was taken aback by his words. The worst part was that I knew he was lying. He knew that my idea had been stolen by Ruby, but acted like I was all useless. I felt my blood boiling as I listened to Neil's lies. I knew that he was just trying to cover his tracks and get rid of me. It was a horrible feeling to be let go from a job that I had worked so hard for, but I knew that I couldn't stay in that toxic environment anymore. I packed my stuff and left that horrible company. As I left that office, I felt angry, frustrated, and betrayed. I knew that I had to do something to get back at Neil and Ruby. I couldn't let them get away with what they had done to me. So I took some time to reflect on my options, and I decided that I wanted revenge. I couldn't just let things slide like that. I started by doing some research on Neil and his company. I wanted to find out everything I could about him and his business practices. I also reached out to some of my former colleagues who had left the company and asked for their advice. They gave me some valuable insights and even offered to help me in any way they could. With this information, I decided to confront Neil. I called him, pretended that I was sorry, and asked what I should do to gain back my job. To my horror, he said that he would give it back to me if I went on a business dinner with him. I knew exactly what that meant, and I was disgusted. When I arrived at the restaurant, I was surprised to see Ruby and Neil sitting together at the table. There were also a few more guys there who I didn't recognize. I felt uncomfortable and out of place, but I tried to keep my cool and make small talk. As the night went on, I started to feel more uneasy. I noticed that Ruby and Neil were exchanging glances and whispering to each other. I also noticed that everyone was getting drunker by the minute. I tried to leave, but before I could, one of the guys at the table started making lewd comments and touching me inappropriately. I quickly got up and started to leave, but Ruby and Neil blocked my way. I was scared for a few seconds. After all, they used to be people I really looked up to, but I knew I was in a different position now, and I had no choice but to stand up for myself. I was sick of their disgusting behaviors and their audacity to act like they did nothing wrong. I mastered all of my courage and made use of my fiercest voice.
Move, you're in my way. Oh, so you're tough now. You don't want your job back anymore?
Is it why you had always been hiring young women for these positions? I have talked to some people about the ways you ran that stupid company.
Excuse me? I thought you were smarter than this, Sophie.
I am smart enough to leave. You can keep that stupid job. Oh, and Ruby? What about me? You're a dirty wrench. Stay away from me.
Keep going. I'll tell everyone in the industry how useless you are. Good luck finding something new.
I left and never turned back. I could hear their drunken laughters as I walked away. They were all entertained. They must have found it so funny that a fresh graduate like me stood up to them like I did. With Neil's threat, they sounded even more excited. They shouted from their table, calling me names and telling me how I had forever lost the opportunity to survive in this field. I couldn't be bothered because I knew a tiny secret that they didn't. I didn't risk my safety just to provide entertainment for them. I had a plan. They didn't know that I had purchased a tiny security camera with all the money I had left, and I had left it in the pocket of my t-shirt. I knew that something like this might happen, and I wanted to be prepared. When I got home, I reviewed the footage from the camera. It was blurry, but clear enough to serve as a proof of harassment. The recording was of really good quality too. Everything was recorded, from the sound of Neil harassing me to the drunken voices on the table to the part where Ruby was trying to seduce one of the wealthy guys. It was horrifying. I knew that I had to do something with this evidence. So I contacted a lawyer and showed them the footage. The lawyer immediately recognized the severity of the situation and took swift action. They helped me file a lawsuit against the company for allowing such behavior to take place in the workplace. It was a long and difficult process, but eventually we were able to reach a settlement. I was paid a substantial amount of money, and the company was forced to make changes to their policies and procedures to prevent such incidents from happening in the future. During the investigation, it was revealed that Neil had a history of harassment and had somehow managed to get away with it thanks to his disgusting alliance with Ruby. Of course, most of the former employees that I had contacted also stepped forward and voiced out their experience. Without their help, I would have never won the case as swiftly as I did. Both Neil and Ruby were fired from the company, as it was confirmed that they had been using their positions of power to manipulate and control others for years. They created a huge media scandal, and I doubted that they could get a decent job anytime soon. I was overjoyed to hear that justice had been served, and I was able to get my job back. But this time, things were different. I was given a much better salary and benefits, and I was treated with the respect and dignity that I deserved. It was a hard fought victory, but in the end, I came out on top. After such a huge drama, I decided to take a break from the corporate world. I had always been passionate about helping others and using my skills to make a difference, and working as an independent consultant gave me the freedom and flexibility to do just that. With my experience and expertise, I quickly gained a reputation as one of the youngest professionals in the industry. I worked with clients from all over the world, helping them to achieve their goals and overcome their challenges. As my career grew, so did my confidence and my sense of purpose. I felt fulfilled and happy in a way that I had never felt before. Through it all, I never forgot where I came from and the struggles that had brought me to where I was today.